Hello, and welcome to Connecting You to You Radio, where we tune in to receive the messages of health and well being that are being broadcast from the soul. I'm your host, Lisa Warner, author of The Simplicity of Self Healing. I show you how to heal your body naturally by combining your body's innate intelligence with the wisdom of your own soul, so that you can break through the mental programming of limiting beliefs that cause disease and make healing your body and changing your life simple. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another conversation in consciousness with Lisa and Keith. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self Healing.
And I'm Keith Leon S., international best-selling author, book publisher, and filmmaker. And we are so happy that you have joined us today on Conversations in Consciousness. Today we're going to talk about what is the Matrix. What exactly is the Matrix? I love that topic. Kick us off, Lisa. What's the Matrix? What is this Matrix you speak of?
Well, this matrix, there are two matrices on this planet that we need to talk about today. The first matrix, the definition of matrix, it comes from the word mother, mater, mother, matter. All of these words are interconnected. So the original word, the matrix, is a womb. It's the space of creation. It's where creation is birthed, and it is the space in which anything is formed. So the original divine organic matrix is this beautiful universe itself. It is the universe from which we all are birthed. This beautiful earth, this nature, the mother nature that nurtures us and provides for us, the mother earth and the father God that provides the impetus for the creations. And so when we're living in the organic matrix, life just flows. It's easy. We are in our divinity. But then there is this false matrix, this societal structure that has been superimposed over the organic matrix. This societal structure of control and rules and regulations and have tos and if you don't, then we will, and all of that. And that false matrix, it distorts our perceptions and it serves to actually separate us from our divinity. It separates us from the organic matrix that is all of creation itself. So when people talk about they want to escape the matrix, well, you want to escape the false matrix, this matrix that of control that has been set up on the planet. But the original organic matrix is where we actually want to be. That is where we thrive. So, what do you think about that, Keith?
I love hearing this. It's interesting because of the world I live in and how many books we published and all the stages I've spoke on and all of that. This is like new information, hearing it the way that you're saying it right now to me, which is amazing. I love it. I'm like, I can talk to you, listen. I could listen to you talk. There we go. The whole time about this. Uh, so I love that kind of masculine, feminine aspect that you are speaking of when we were talking about this. And yeah, I mostly have known and heard about the false matrix, right? I remember seeing that movie and walking out of the theater and never was the same again. And there's so many people who have that same experience,
Mhm.
um, because it was so rare that people would show the truth, even if it was disguised as a fiction, right, in a film, uh, so blatantly. It was amazing, life transforming. And I remember, for me, I heard before the movie came out, I heard the producer was in the line at Agape, my spiritual center, and he was talking about this movie that was coming out and how incredible it was, and that they had hired Keanu Reeves, and he couldn't believe like how great he was, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then it was actually Reverend Michael who, from the pulpit, had seen the movie and talked about it, and really just encouraged everybody to go see it and tell other people about it because it was like a truth film being revealed. And so yeah, I love that. I love the Mother Nature aspect and father mother peace, like all of that. I want to hear more. Right.
So
I love it.
that movie was it was a great example of, you know, red pill, the blue pill, are you gonna wake up or are you gonna stay asleep? And, none of us are asleep on purpose. you know, the trauma has actually put us to sleep, has the trauma that we have received from the false matrix programming, from
Right.
that control structure, from all of those false ideas of, life is hard, there's scarcity, it's not safe to be here, all of these ideas that have been perpetrated,
Right.
this control structure. The only reason people are in control are because, we're allowing them to be in control. Like, ultimately, in the divine design, we don't need to be controlled. There's nothing to control. There
Right. Right.
is, there is creation, there is celebration of life itself. And,
Mm.
when we are living in the organic, natural matrix, it is the womb of creation. We're constantly in creator mode, expressive mode. And, it's just life is easy. Everything flows beautifully and easily. But in that
Mm.
false matrix, where you have to fight for your rights and, you got to climb your way to the corporate ladder and you got to earn a living and, all of
Right.
these false ideas that
Right.
make no sense when you really see how creation happens. These are all traumas that have been perpetrated on humanity. All of these, we go, way back to the time, the tribal times when, the marauders would come in and decimate a village and just take over all the lands and the women. And, like, this isn't normal, but this is still going on today. War is not a normal thing. It's not a human trait. As organic divine humans, there's nothing to fight about. We are
Mm.
created from divine love and light, hence our angel wings, to remind us all that this is who and what we are. And when
Mm.
we're living in harmony with the original divine design, the original organic matrix, life is just really, truly beautiful. But none of
Mm.
us have had the experience of really living that because the false matrix has been literally constructed on top of, paved over, and, fought over the original organic matrix. And
Mm.
this false matrix is that matrix of control. It is how these beings have decided that they want to own the earth and control all of the assets on the earth, and they look at humans as assets, and that humans need to be controlled and humans need to, um, to give up their power, because as humans we are made of the light, but the controllers that have been in control for a really long time are not controlling from the light, they're controlling from the lack of light, from the lack of love. So when we are being controlled by those who are not in a state of love or compassion or kindness, then it appears that the universe, or at least that this world, is cold and uncaring, and it's a difficult place, and it's a tragic place, and that it's a place where we have to work and earn our living. And none of this is actually true, but it has become normalized. So, by talking about the matrix today and starting to understand what the actual matrix is and where that word comes from, we can start talking about, you know, how do we start to live in the organic matrix and disconnect ourselves from that false matrix? Because this is the only way we're going to really have heaven on earth.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that leads right into what I wanted to share is like when I'm in nature, when I have my eyes closed and I'm meditating, right? Either one of those things and both at the same time sometimes. Uh, when I'm just breathing, the answer and or message, the answer of the message that I receive is in this moment, I have all that I need, meaning the breath, meaning the spark of life that is me. Like that's all I need. That's right. That is the pure essence of who I am. And when I'm in nature, that's literally the feeling of not needing anything else. Right. If I'm in nature and I'm walking in the and taking that all in, I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about any of that like false matrix programming when I'm in nature. It's just it's gone. And yeah, forget that even the need for food a lot of times, right? Because you're just so taken with the nature and the beauty of it and the sounds and the feeling and the air on my face. And so that's where I feel connected to everything. That's where I feel like I have the answer to everything. All of that. It's the complete opposite. And then it's when coming back to what they would call the real world, the false matrix, pulling back into that, opening up the computer, opening up a phone, going in a social media or whatever. Boy, you can find out really quick what the opposite of peace, the opposite of heaven on earth, the opposite of all the things I was experiencing in that feminine aspect, right, of nature, how quickly that reminder can come back. And so for many, many years, what I have developed and what I have become good at is taking the feeling of when I'm in nature, taking the feeling of not feeling that I need anything other than the breath, other than this beautiful life I've been given, friends, people I love, all of those beautiful things, taking that with me in the everyday life, taking that with me in the workday. I'm going through the motions, I'm doing the things, I'm answering questions, I'm, speaking to clients or whatever, but I'm staying the in that divine feminine aspect, energy, like tapping into that before I start calling people, remembering that as much as humanly possible. Right? I have all that I need. Uh, I skip commercials. I purposely, if I watch TV, I record it and watch it later and skip commercials because I recognized at a very young age that almost everything was being sold by telling us that there was something wrong with us, down to shampoo and products. You've got ring around the collar. I know it's an old school reference, but those of you who are my age will recognize that. It's like those dirty rings. Oh my God, I have a little bit of dirt around my collar because I sweat in this shirt a lot. I mean, so what? Uh, but cars, trips, you know, makeup, now clotheslines, like this, this, this nature, the selfie nature, it's all like not good enough, not good enough. What's wrong with you? And now we're gonna here's the fix, as Lisa would say. Now here's the fix, and offer you the product that's gonna help you feel better at least for 5 seconds. And so in all of that, and people come to me all the time like, oh my God, so yeah, about that train wreck or about that thing or about that murder, or and they just assume that I know what they're talking about. They assume that I'm watching the news every night, I guess. And I never know what they're talking about because I don't choose to live in the false matrix narrative. So I'm not watching the news. I'm not reading the paper. I'm breathing in what's real, and that's this breath. I'm hanging around people that are loving and kind and generous and on the same path because I am the 5 people that I surround myself with. So those people are beautiful, awesome, incredible people. Because I know I will become those people that I hang out with. So yeah, so it's a lot of people like, why are you happy? I get that a lot. Why are you happy? And I think they believe that I'm just a spiritual bypasser, that I just pretend like it's not there. And I don't have to pretend like it's not there because I hear about it from other people. So I don't need to watch the news. Someone's gonna come up and tell me about it if it's something they need to know. It's not that I've got my head in the sand. It's just that I can be listening to the same exact thing, hearing the same people talk about the same thing, and not let it upset me, and not buy in to the story being told because
Exactly.
I choose to live in the other nature, in the other matrix that you're talking about. It's a choice.
Yes, it's a shift of perspective.
Yeah.
When we're mired in the programming, we don't see an alternative to the programming. We then just think that life is the way it is. We're taught that it is the way it is, and you just have to make the best of what it is. Well, no, actually, the false matrix is what the false matrix is. And when you step out of it, you step into your organic consciousness, and you step into your higher self, the part of you that is always connected to the organic matrix. We can't be completely disconnected from it. We can't be disconnected from the truth of who we are. We can't be disconnected from the love and the light. We can turn our back on it. We can pretend that it doesn't exist. We can pretend that life is hard, that that I'm a victim, that, this isn't okay. They did that to me, like whatever we want to look at. But if we are looking at those things, we're looking through these wounded aspects of ourselves, as because we have all grown up in this false matrix system. We have all absorbed all of these traumatizing energies, as babies. When we're pre-verbal, we're absorbing energy from the subtle energy realms. We're absorbing everything that our parents are putting out, whether, if in the background they're worried about money, or they're afraid of, the craziness in the world, or, any of that stuff that's going on, even if they're just kind and loving to us as babies, we're still picking up all of the subtle energies around us. So that those subtle energies are helping to form our first chakra, that root chakra that's all about survival and well-being and our connection to the planet and our physicalness. And
Mm.
when we start absorbing like, oh no, it's not okay. Money is hard to come by. We start to develop all of these patterns that are created from the false matrix. And we then simply grow up believing those things. And until we start to wake ourselves up and realize, wait a second, there's got to be more to life than struggle for survival. Like, it doesn't really make sense when we look out in nature. What I love about what you were talking about, feeling just so connected to everything in nature. When we go out into a pristine part of nature, when we can find that around us, and we're super lucky being here in the mountains where we can go out into nature. we can
Yeah.
we can if we observe, we see that every single being in nature, whether it's a plant or a tree or a bug or a bird or a butterfly or a squirrel or a chipmunk, they're all adding to the nature. They're all sharing their gifts and talents. They're all helping each other. The bear eats the raspberries, and the raspberries nourish the bear, and then the bear goes and seeds the raspberries in other places so that the raspberries can grow from from the bear poop. It's like everything is everything is helping everything else. Everything is working together in nature. Humans are the only ones that are working against ourselves and against nature. That whole divide and conquer is the false matrix programming. It divides us from nature itself, it divides us from our own divinity, it divides us men and women, religion versus religion, country versus country. And that's how the conquerors can conquer. They divide us all up, pit us against each other, pit us against nature, convince us that we have to fight for our rights and that life is difficult, and that if we just buy all these great things, then there's a pill for that. And if you have this fancy boat, you're going to be so happy. And we'll give you credits so that you can buy that fancy boat. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there we are. We move from the organic matrix where just everything flows and is beautiful and easy, and everybody lives in community, co
Yeah.
creational community, to this separated, isolated, divided false matrix reality.
Mhm. Yeah. When we're in the false matrix reality, things may look clear, but we're looking through a distorted lens,
Exactly.
and everything's distorted but looks clear. And I think that's the thing that most people said when they walked out of the matrix was all of a sudden they had it clear, like everything came clear. That's the word that just kept coming up, no matter what other words they put around it. I heard clear. Everything came clear. When I stepped out, everything was clear, and so no longer distorted. And isn't that interesting? You can be in the most distorted pattern and look around, and everything looks like it's 2020. And that's a programming. And I think that's what, when people toss around spiritual buzzwords like enlightened, or when people have that thing where they sit down to meditate and then they finally have that moment that makes them go, "Mm," right? That finally get that moment that just makes them go, "Mm." That's what I would call clarity, right? That's that aha moment of, oh wow, 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 realizing about the programming. Right? I think that's the first aha moment anybody ever gets enlightenment, right? Is the clear understanding that love is all there is, that this spark of life and coming here to experience loving and being loved, giving love and receiving love, all things love. uh, is the purpose, like why we chose to be here. And there is no fear in love, and there is no need in love, and there is no perfect product needed to experience it. You can't purchase it, you can't buy it, you can't be guilted into it, you can't be shamed into it. If it's really, if it's really love, it just is a natural way of being that comes from the spiritual matrix, the spiritual nature, the part of us that already knows the answer to every question and knows love and knows that we're made of light, not dark. And that even the color black, there's white in there. There's light in the color black. There's all the colors to make up the color black. And in every color, there is light. There's white, you know. Uh, white is in all of it. Light is in all of it. Is as it through everything, even on the TV, even on the screen, even in the colors that we see. There we go. Look at the light reflecting off of the black. It's always there. The light is always there, and that was the lesson that my angel that I spent time with, in the flesh, taught me in a cave. And we were in a cave, and he had a flashlight, and he walked away up ahead of me, and all of a sudden the light went out, and I just started to freak out. Like, could see nothing. It was like the definition of pitch black in there, and I could see nothing, and I started to hyperventilate, and I was freaking out. I'm like, where would he go, and why would he just leave me, and what's happening? And I just spun out, and then I just finally called out, and he just turned the light back on, and he was in the same exact place that he was standing when he turned the light out. And he said, life is like that sometimes. Sometimes you feel like you've been abandoned. Sometimes you feel like you're in the dark. Uh, but all you need to do is, in this case, walk 50 feet and you would bump into me. I was still here, and I have the light, and the light is always there. It's always there. You just have to look for it. You have to find it sometimes, but it's always there. It's like, wow. It's like deep and profound lesson in a very short amount of time. But it was scary, but it was like point taken, well received. The light is always there. You just got to turn it back on. Walk
Exactly.
50 feet. Take the time to walk 50 feet, man. And sit down and take 3 breaths. Right? Anything could be a metaphor for that walking 50 feet and bumping into him and grabbing the light and turning it back on if I wanted to.
Sometimes it's just asking for it. It's like you just
Yes.
said, just ask, "Hey, where'd you go?" It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm still here."
Will you turn the light back on? Sure. Click.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
But how easy it is to get caught up in. I think I put in the book, like I finally had understand in that moment. I finally started had the understanding of my mom, who had always been talked about claustrophobic. So that was her story. She told over and over and over again, and it was like the first thing that came to mind in the darkness. Right? It was the programming, claustrophobia. Oh, now I'm starting to not be able to breathe. Oh, I understand my mom now. Oh, it was like so much happened
Oh,
so quickly. Fear, fright, claustrophobia. Now I can't breathe. It was just like instead of hey, what happened? Why'd you turn the light out? Can you turn it back on? I mean, wow, it was that easy.
right. It's amazing. I've been in a pitch black cave before. And it's like, wow. Like you literally can't see a single thing. It's amazing.
Like
Yeah, right. It's
wild.
quiet too, like quiet and dark with no stimuli. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
But it's such a great metaphor for walking through the false matrix is like walking through the darkness. It's like we're tripping over things and bumping into things and running over things and hearing things and imagining things and you know, but when we step out and we look from a different perspective, it's like we see something completely different. And it takes that time to be quiet, to not move, to simply get quiet, go within and ask. Like that's really all it takes. A
Yeah,
willingness to receive answers.
yeah, yeah. I won't say all, but I would venture to say almost all fears are based on programming.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
are based on someone else's story. Uh, Down to one of them that's really, really strong and underneath it all to so many people, whether they realize it or not, is fear of being homeless. Right? That's like one of the things that's programmed. If you don't work your 9 to 5, don't work your butt off, don't you're gonna not have a home and not be able to provide for your family. And I remember that being one of the ones that I was so scared of.
Mm,
And there was an event that way, way, way back when I first started speaking, and it was like going to be finally the first big room that I was going to speak at, and it was like going to be 1,000 people in the audience. And at that time, bills were due, and the rent was due, overdue, and it was like felt like a make or break moment. Like if I don't make money at this event, we are screwed. And I felt like we are just going to lose everything, or we're going to be homeless, and my wife was going to be disappointed in me, and maybe I'd lose her. And oh, what about my kids? And it just, whew, I was spinning out. So not a great place to come from when you're going to speak at an event. And and then I got up with Mara, and we got up and we spoke at this event, and it just things went south really quick. Uh, there was a certain way in that organization that they kind of hypnotize people and scare people into buying the products, and all of the people that are on their stage are taught to speak in this particular way when it comes to the sales piece, and it's all fear based, and it's all that narrative, and it's built on that. And I took the course, and I built my whole sales piece to that format, because if you don't do it that way in this room, you will sell nothing. And that had been shown to me by other people who tried to do it their way, not that way, and failed miserably. And I was like halfway through that template, and I was like, I stopped and I said, I know that you're used to hearing this a certain way, and but that way is not me. And I said, let me just share from my heart, right? And I said, we teach about relationships, and we got John Gray endorsed us. He's got the #1 book of all time, right? The person who asked us to speak here, we're the only people doing this piece. That's because he feels that we're the ones, right? And so if you feel connected to us, you feel like we're your teachers, we already have the credibility. Right? Got the #1 guy of all time and this person backing us. And so if you feel like we're the ones for you, then sign up. And nobody did. I sold like a book, I think. That's it. All those people, but they were so used to get hearing it that other way. And so because we didn't sell, then that person sent somebody else to basically fire me from the next day, which was the book piece, which I would have done great at. Uh, and they were going to have a panel. I got fired from that. So it was just like, you didn't sell, you piece of junk, and you're fired basically from the rest of the thing. And didn't even have the guts to do it themselves. They sent someone else to do it.
right.
Uh, and so I just talk about spinning out, and I really spun out, and I went up to the room and told Mara I needed a few minutes alone, and I went out on the balcony, and I just was like, I just want this to be over. And I was way, way up on the 14th floor or whatever of this hotel. And I was just, I'm going to end it all. And I literally had a leg over and over the ledge of the deck. I was going to jump, and I saw my little boy's face saying, "Daddy, why'd you do it?" And then my other boy's face saying, "Why would you do that?" And just flashed on Mara, and I was just like, "Ah!" It caught me, and I came back, and then I went in and told Mara uh, what had happened, and she just started crying, and she said, "I don't care about any of that crap." And I said, "What?" And she said, "House, car, you know, none of it." She said, "I love you, and that's literally all. That's it for me is you and your love." And she said, "I would live on the side of a mountain in a tent, and I would be content as long as I had you." And she said, and as far as like homeless, because I shared that piece, right? So I'm bringing it back around to the homeless piece. As far as homeless, she always knew that was my biggest fear. She said, "Name one family member that would let us live on the street." Go ahead. Name one client, even a client, who would let us live on the street if we were willing to tell them that that's where we were at. And I couldn't think of one. So it was like that fear was completely taken away, right? It's just a programming and it's no truth to it whatsoever. So now there's no way that I could ever be homeless. And my wife doesn't care about any of this stuff. Would live on the side of a mountain in a tent. Like that's hardcore for someone who has so many doesn't even like the cold or wants to be comfortable in a bed. For her to say that was just so incredible and so profound. And so all of my fears went away that day. And so did any suicidal ideology, right? After that. This is the last time I ever thought about doing that because it was all built on the false matrix that you speak of in the programming and and all the fears that were taught to me, and none of them are in reality. None of them are real,
Mm.
and yet they were totally controlling me. Right? So that was an aha moment of clarity. Again, back to that word clarity, where I was like, oh. So for me, any of moments of clarity have always been when I realized false matrix, truth, right? When I actually see the truth and all that false stuff just goes, falls to the ground. I
Yeah.
go, oh, okay, okay.
Right. And that's that shift of perspective. Our minds have been programmed. The mind is programmable. And when we're looking through the programs that we have been taught to look at and through, then we're working from our the programmed self, the limited human self that we have been taught to be. But
Yeah,
there's the soul, there's the higher self, the
yes.
divine self that has always been perfect in every way, fully interconnected with all that is,
Hmm.
that has total clarity
Yep.
and has never been in the false matrix. And
Mm.
when we learn to move our attention point from the false matrix programming into the truth of who we are, we start to see with grand clarity.
Mhm.
I always talk about, it's like we're these Russian stacking dolls. The physical self is the littlest doll in the center, and
Yeah.
all the other layers of ourself are non-physical. We have an emotional body, a mental body, a causal body, all of these other parts of ourselves that make up the rest of who we are. And we've been taught to just look through these physical eyes, just see the physical stuff. And if it's not physical, it's not real. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the physical stuff that we've been taught to see isn't actually the real stuff. Like what we have been taught to see, I was taught to see disease,
Mhm.
cancer, there's something wrong with me,
Right.
and then when my body displayed those symptoms, then it was like, oh no, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm being attacked by some killer disease. This is horrific. But then when I got really quiet and I tuned in and I asked to be shown what's actually happening here, what's really going on, what do I need to know about this? And I moved my attention point from, oh my God, this is horrible. What's wrong with me? To, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. Your body is functioning exactly the way it's designed to function. Your body's literally trying to help you. And the cancer, that's the illusion. That's what you've been taught from the false matrix. So, what we look at and what we see are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And what we look at, we can see from our through our programming, through the lens of our programming. It's like, oh my God, I don't have any money. Oh my God, there's something wrong with me. We can look at those symptoms of, $2 in our bank account and we can see it from one perspective, or we can see the same $2 in our bank account from a completely different perspective. And how we look at it determines what we see. So, we have simply been taught to see from lack, from limitation, from, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Oh no, I don't have any power here. Oh no. But when we shift our perspective and we move back into the organic matrix, which means when we remember the truth of who we are, that we are souls, first and foremost, and we have incarnated into physical form. And as souls, we are fully interconnected with all that is, with the universe and beyond. And all we have to do is ask, and we can receive. That's universal law. When we choose to create, the natural way of life for us as humans is to give. We are here to give and to share and to help make the world a more beautiful, better place where we create spaces of love for ourselves, for our families, where everything, for our pets. And this space of love is that organic matrix, the mother, the space that nurtures, the womb that nurtures all life. But then that false matrix is just paved over the organic, and we're taught that all of these things that actually are not true, that serve to separate us from our divinity, from our soul. And it starts to shut down all of our chakra systems in our light body. This Russian stacking doll image, these other layers of us are the other 12 layers of our DNA. We don't have two-strand DNA, we have 12-strand DNA. The other 10 strands are non-physical, and those non-physical strands are like the other layers of our light body, that we're taught only to look at the physical stuff and not see any of the subtle energies around us. But when we learn to tune back in to the subtle energies, we can start tuning in to ourselves, and we can start to notice where our energy is shut down, what parts of us have been fragmented, in childhood. All of these traumas, they're there are things that people don't recognize as trauma, that's actually trauma to us as children, infants, toddlers. And those traumas start to shut down our chakra system. And when those lower three chakras are not open and flowing, it makes creation really, really difficult because the energies aren't flowing properly. So in reconnecting to the truth of who we are, recognizing our divinity, recognizing that we are non physical beings here in physical form, and we start to reconnect to the organic truth of who we are, to the organic matrix of all life, then we start to clear out all of the false image programming that we have received, all of the false ideas about that we have to fight for our lives and we have to earn a living when clearly we are already living. We have already earned our living. There is nothing left to earn. And, then everything starts to clear. We start to bring all of those fragmented parts and pieces back. And we start to recognize the false matrix. We start to see, hey, they're telling us this thing, but it doesn't feel right. Something feels off about the story they're telling us. Wait a second. Huh? When did fire become a season? Like, wait a second. There's some stuff that's not adding up here, and then we start to question what's going on around us. And when we start to hear conversations like this, it starts to just trigger some awareness, like, wait a second. And we start to wake ourselves up and we start to see what's actually happening on the planet. And we start to take our power back because we start to tune into our soul. We start to tune into the part of us that has never been in that false matrix, the part of us that has always been connected to Mother, Father, God, to the divine design, to well being, infinite, eternal well being. That's who and what we are. And we start to tune back into that.
Mm, yes. I just had my eyes closed and I was using what you're saying as a closed eye process. That was beautiful. If you're watching this, go back 3 to 5 minutes, close your eyes. That was a beautiful closed eye process.
Yeah, all we have to do, like really, when we close our eyes, we
Mm,
the beauty of closing the eyes is that this is how we see the non-physical stuff. This is how we
mhm,
can see energy. We can tune in to the subtle energy field.
mhm.
With our physical eyes, we can only see the physical stuff. We can't see subtle energy. Yes, there are some people that do have their clairvoyance fully activated and they can see. We call these people, like medical intuitives, the people who can just simply scan somebody's auric field and see where there are distortions, or see they can scan inside somebody's body and see.
Right,
For the most of us, that um, that gift is still turned off.
right,
And
and as soon as you open your eyes, you turn off other senses. Close your
exactly.
eyes, now you're activating feeling, sensing, like a whole other everything else but seeing. Yeah.
It's like when we learn to tune into the subtle energies, when we close our eyes and just scan through the body, starting at the head. Yeah, and just kind of like scanning. If you ever, like sort of like a scanner on Star Trek or something, you just kind of go down and you just start noticing, like, what do I feel? What do I notice going on inside my body? Do I notice any little aches or pains? Do I notice any feelings of discomfort? Do I notice any feelings of fear or shame or guilt? Where is that coming from? What part of myself is feeling afraid? Oh, I feel there's a 2-year-old in there that's still feeling afraid, that feels like the world is a big, scary place. Like, oh, what does that frightened 2-year-old want to say? What message does he or she have? And we just we give voice to it. We listen to that. and we start to notice all of these fragmented parts and pieces of ourselves. When we have these traumas as children, you will go to church, you will go to school, you will do this, like whatever it is, you will get that shot from the doctor, you will do. It's like, oh, these things are traumas for children, and it starts to we start to shut off, and we close off, and that part of ourself gets fragmented and secluded,
Mm,
and then that becomes the quote unquote unconscious mind, that part that's is like running the show in the background, because that inner 2-year-old doesn't want to repeat that pattern. So that inner 2-year-old is going to do everything possible to make sure that we as the adult don't repeat that pattern, but then we get stuck in these loops, and this is what keeps us in that false matrix. So when we start to move our attention up into our higher selves and allow our divine guidance to guide us, tuning into the subtle energies of the inner guidance system, that's the soul. That's the divine part of ourselves that always knows the answer. It will always steer us in the right direction, back into the love and the divinity that we are, always in the direction of our own well being. The voices of the false matrix are loud, and it's easy to hear them because they're so loud. But it's when we tune in and we start listening to that still, small voice within, that's where the true wisdom lies.
mhm. Yes, the real answers are within. Yep. I feel complete. How about you?
So, how about all of you? Where do you notice yourselves still tuned in to that false matrix? What what little aha moments might you have had during our conversation today? Take the time right now to, if you haven't already, take the time to grab a pencil and a pen and paper, or your notes on your phone, and just write down, what are the aha moments that you had today? What are the things that sparked an inner awareness? What are the things that rang true? And where are you noticing that you're still hooked in to the false matrix? And it's easy to discern because it makes us not feel very good. It makes us feel small. It makes us feel like victims. It makes us feel like there's not enough, or that we're not enough.
Right.
And when we start to notice those, we can start to recognize that we are tuned in to the false matrix. And we can override that by recognizing that we are grand beings of light. That's the truth of who and what we are, always and forever. And we start tuning back into that part of ourselves, and the answers come in beautiful, amazing ways when we allow them to.
Mhm, mhm.
So, thank you all for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation in consciousness. Is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with today, Keith?
Well, you said it beautifully. I would just say the same thing in my way, and that is that each and every one of you have a divine purpose. You are the spark of life. You are love in action. You are proof that there is a source, right? You're proof of that because you are made of it. And so continue to uh, find your light if you don't feel like you have it right now. Find it and then shine it. Keep on shining your light because others will feel it and see it and they'll gravitate towards it. And so it is.
And so it is. Keep shining, beautiful ones.
Yes, yes.
Light is your love. The light is the medicine you're looking for.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us for this Conversations in Consciousness. We hope you're enjoying this series. So until next time, create for yourselves a beautiful organic day. Bye for now.
Because we can.
Because you can. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of Connecting You to You Radio. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Are you ready to discover more about how simple healing your body can actually be when you do it from the higher wisdom of your soul? To learn more about what I do and how you can work with me, visit connectingyoutoyou.com and get on my mailing list to be the first to know about my latest offerings. If you'd like to interact with me on Facebook, please join my group, Soul Sourced Healing. Check the show notes below for these links and more. I hope to see you again next time on Connecting You to You Radio.